It's official, as the Pittsburgh Penguins have officially signed first-round pick Ben Kindel to his ELC. We're going to break that down and why Penguins fans should be absolutely fired up about it. And not only that, but there's another prospect we're going to touch on in this video that is blowing everyone's mind at Penguins development camp, and who it is might surprise you. So we're going to break that all down in this episode of Penguins Digest. But before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 68% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening with your Pittsburgh Penguins, go down below, hit that free subscribe button, because this is the place to be for all your daily Pittsburgh Penguins content. But as you may have noticed, Nikash, I want to welcome into the channel. Welcome to the channel, Nikash. He's going to be making some Penguins content. We're going to be doing some duo videos. So welcome into the channel. I'm pretty excited to talk about Ben Kindel today. But what are you seeing from Ben Kindel, first of all? We'll get into him. But, there's a lot going on with prospect camp. But he's officially signed his ELC contract. And I think some fans are, there's a lot of different perspectives on this player and what Kyle Dubas did in the draft. But I think this is a really good thing.
No, 100%, Darius. I do agree with you. Thank you for the kind welcome as well. Glad to be on the channel. But with Ben Kindle, I think a lot of people are scared by his frame and stature. He's 5'11", 180, which, it's not really that small if you look at NHL averages. 5'11" is really not that small. Personally, I'm 5'11", so I don't think he's that short. So, but he's apparently a super skilled player. People are saying it's like a prototypical Kyle Dubas pick, but if we look at another player who we're talking about later in the video, you'll see why it might not be a prototypical Kyle Dubas pick. As I said, he's small, but he did lead the team in assists. Hit a 23-game point streak, as you have up there on the screen. Yep. Very good hands. I think the one knock I saw on him was his skating, but I think his skating is something you can develop pretty well. If you have the knack for the offensive instincts and the skill, I think he's going to be crazy. Elite hands, a good shot. And strong defensively, I think is a really big thing too. A lot of these prospects, they knock your socks off offensively with all these numbers. I think he had 99 points in 65 games in the past season. But what really matters to me, these guys always put up crazy numbers when they're young, especially in the CHL leagues. But how strong are you defensively? Because we always see that kind of develop later. But if they can come in with those sort of defensive instincts, I think it'll be huge for Pittsburgh, and I think fans are going to turn around on him, and they're going to start to really like what he does on the ice.
Absolutely. And you can see I have it up here on screen from Jesse Marshall. This was before the draft as well, and it kind of plays into exactly what you were just talking about how, you could look at a bunch of players in the WHL, the OHL, the QMJHL, and they could put up over 100 points, and you're like, wow, this is going to be awesome when he eventually puts up 100 points in the NHL. But what does he offer in the other two zones, in the neutral zone and the defensive zone? And like you said, Ben Kindel, by all accounts from Jesse Marshall, and again, this is from before he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins, that he is actually strong in all three zones. He takes care of the puck, he takes care of himself in all three zones. So I feel like, the biggest knock on him is the fact that, this kind of narrative around Kyle Dubas that he drafts small players and that they're not going to work out in the NHL. But I don't think that's the case here. This guy can score. He has very high hockey IQ. And if you want to pause and read the rest of it, but I do feel like he's going to take care of himself in all three zones. And you can see here, the one thing, that was mentioned by Jesse as well at the end of there, is that he's really good at one-on-one battles for his size, which I think is a really good thing and does translate to the NHL level and playoffs, which is, where the Pittsburgh Penguins want to go very soon again, because, Sidney Crosby is not getting any younger. We can talk about that too, but he's really good at one-on-one battles. He's, battling it out in camp. So, I feel like his skill set, like you were mentioning, I want to throw it back to you, Nikash, that, I feel like a lot of these things that he brings to the table will actually translate a lot better than people think to the NHL level, because he takes care of the puck in all three zones, and he wins one-on-one battles, even for his size. I don't think it's an issue at the NHL level.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the offensive gifts that players have, there is 100 players across the CHL that can put up an obscene amount of points. We always see these guys that are drafted even like the third, fourth round. You're like, why did this guy fall so far when he's like over a point a game? Or as Ben Kindle was taken, I believe, 11th overall,
Yep.
and he wasn't taken just for his offensive gifts. Like, the point production is very nice, but as you said, he kind of plays bigger than what you would see from his frame. Again, I said 5'11", 180, not too huge by NHL standards, but still decent. But again, winning those one-on-one puck battles, being steady defensively, and just play not. I've read that he wasn't super overtly physical, but he's not going to shy away from the physical aspects of hockey, getting in the corners, winning those battles, causing turnovers, just being a little bit of a menace, which is kind of what pushes him above from these other 100-point offensive players who might not have any other dimensions to their game aside from just putting up an insane amount of points. And while I think that is valuable, we do want to see, like you said, those translatable skills that can come to the NHL and really, bring up his floor as opposed to his ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what, the Penguins need to do with some of these draft picks as well, right? So you can see here too from Canadian Pens fan that Ben Kindel, along with everything we've been talking about, he actually had more points, again, in the WHL. There's a lot of, back and forth about which junior league is actually the best. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. But he actually had more points than O'Brien, Martone, and a couple other players in this year's top 10. And he was almost in the top 10, 11th overall, but he had more points and, he plays a lot bigger than he actually is. So I feel like a lot of these skills will translate. A lot of people wanted Eklund as well, and were really mad when the Penguins did not select him. A lot of other teams passed up on Eklund as well. I think he dropped to 16th at the end of the day. So a lot of other teams, did not pick him up with their draft pick before then. And obviously, Kindle, I think, is going to be a great player. So, I think this whole narrative around him that he's not going to pan out or anything like that is tired at this point. He's going to be a great player for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But another player I wanted to touch on that was drafted in the same first round by the Pittsburgh Penguins before we wrap up here is Will Horov. And he came in as kind of like this scrappy project kind of player that a lot of people were talking about on draft night, where it's like he's very far from perfect, but there's a lot you can work with there. And like you mentioned off the top of the video, not the stereotypical Kyle Dubas type of draft pick or Wes Clark type of draft pick. This is a big skater. He's 6'5", 203 pounds. So, what are you seeing from this guy too? He's come into camp, and by all accounts from multiple beat reporters, this guy is tearing it up in development camp right now. Put almost everybody else to shame. His one standout in terms of weakness is probably his skating as well, and maybe his hands, even though, you watch some highlights and you can definitely, you can handle the puck, that's for sure, but, maybe not at the NHL level yet. But what are you seeing from him? Because I feel like this guy is going to be a huge difference maker too.
Well, I think another interesting aspect is he was someone that was invited to the USA World Junior Showcase. So he does have some likability from like the US side of things, which is big, just for notoriety and stuff like that. And I think, like you said, the 6'5" frame is so unbelievably attractive. Yeah, again, like we said, like these players, like Dubas picks, maybe not be this big, but it does seem like Will Horov is that out of the box type pick for the Penguins, and just trying to mix up the prospect pool, because the Penguins are trying to restock their cupboards with whatever they can get in there. And a first round pick, 24th overall, of course, 6'5", 203. Every time he steps on the ice, people like to say. Now, you did mention his point production doesn't really jump off the page at you. I have here 10 points in 18 NCAA games as a freshman, so really nothing too crazy. But again, if he's gonna have that competitive edge, maybe that does show that he does want to learn and develop and get better. I have here, a lot to be done developmentally, but again, when you're 6'5", you do have a pretty high floor as a player. There is, obviously the Sean Horkov connection. He is the son of a long-time NHLer, so he does have, that sort of baseline as a player. And I think the fact that he is so huge, he can impose physically on, people that he's on camp, like at camp with, or in the NCAA, will be huge for him. I don't know when he's going to be an NHL player, Darius. I think it might be a few years off from that. But again, like you said, we said the Penguins want to make the playoffs soon with Sidney Crosby. Let's be honest, I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, given, we have kind of discussed that they want to move even more players out. There's been multiple reports that they're the only team that wants to get worse right now. So I think it's fine they're taking a project player. If Will Horov does develop more offensive skills, this is a unicorn type of player for me. We look at players like a Tage Thompson or a Quinton Byfield that are huge and skilled. Why can't Will Horov be that with the right development? I'm not going to say he's going to come in and score almost 50 goals like Tage Thompson, or be, a graceful, skilled 6'5" player like Quinton Byfield. But if he can, get that skill and, play physically imposing all at the same time, this could be a home run pick for the Penguins front office here.
Absolutely. And I think you said it there too. Like, he can be a unicorn type player. Maybe not Tage Thompson scoring, north of 50 goals or anything like that, but you can see, go check out this video on Twitter, because he wins a puck battle on the wall, which you would expect from a guy his size, but then he blows past the defender. The defender has no chance of getting the puck off him because of his size and his frame. He drives the net and he scores. So if he's able to do that even semi-regularly at the NHL level, like, I think you'll be okay, and you'll probably make the NHL at some point. But you bring up a good point to wrap up here. Nikash, that like, heading forward, the Pittsburgh Penguins are the only team, and I can't remember the last time this has ever happened, are the only team in the entire league that are selling right now. Everyone else is trying to get better, and the Penguins are maybe not actively trying to get worse, but trying to move some assets, right? For some assets so they can, eventually get better. But I thought this quote was very interesting. Not just quote, but report that Kyle Dubas is expected to be aggressive on the trade market soon with a trade-heavy offseason ahead. Now, we haven't really seen much of that so far, so I feel like it's still ahead, and that's the sentiment around the Penguins. And Cam Robinson also added that Erik Karlsson, amongst with a couple other players around the league, are on the market as well. So Erik Karlsson is definitely in play. I thought that was very interesting, and things are going to heat up. We're going to have another video on Brian Rust and Rickard Rakell because it seems like they could be on the way out. Maybe, I don't know if it's both of them, but maybe one of them, that's for sure. So it's going to be very interesting to cover that, but we'll keep you covered on the channel for everything to do with that. So let us know how you feel in the comments about Will Horov, and of course Ben Kindel finally signs. Horov and a couple other guys don't have their contract yet. Seems like Kindle's probably a little bit closer to making the NHL than those guys as well with some of his skills, but let us know how you feel in the comments, and if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything Pittsburgh Penguins.